Welcome to Stuck in My Mind podcast, the show where we dive into the mind of a regular guy on his road to self-discovery. You'll hear everyday people just like you share the latest topics, personal stories, and things they've learned along the way. And now, please welcome your host, Wise.
And welcome to another episode. I am your host, Wize, and I have a very special guest. He's an entrepreneur, he's a coach. He does so many different things, but I'm going to let him explain what he does when he comes on in a few minutes. Welcome to the show, Ryan Warriner.
Hi, Wise. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh man, the pleasure's mine. This is what I love to do, is to have people on, come on and share whatever knowledge they want to share with my audience, and end up having some great conversations.
Yeah, for sure. Let's have a great one today.
Sounds like a plan. All right, Ryan. So, what is it exactly that you do? It says you're a professor of communications, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, what is that exactly?
Yeah, so I do a few things, but the first thing I guess you'd say is I'm a professor of communication. It entails mostly me researching as well as creating content to help and it's in higher education, so helping the folks transition from their education into their careers, equipping them with all the tools they need to be successful and navigate different situations that they may find themselves in the workplace.
Awesome, awesome. Sorry about that. Let me mute everything now. Things just go, just things happen. So, do you teach business? Do you teach businesses, or do you have like personal clients?
Yeah, great question. So in parallel with is separate, but in parallel with my professorship, oftentimes I consult and I coach with a number of organizations. Sometimes it involves corporate training, but more often than not, it's a team or an individual that requests my services. And it's to the effect of helping them optimize their communication and enhance their productivity and achieve success. It's some people, when you're in it, when you're in the weeds every day and you're working and you're hustling and you're trying to crush through your workload or make a dent, as we say. So sometimes you don't have the benefit of stepping back and looking at what direction you're going, right? Like we have the analogy of folks spending all the time climbing up the ladder to realize it's leaning up against the wrong wall, right? So that's where I kind of come in and I can help realign. I offer that objective perspective, and I can help folks focus their efforts on where they'll maximize the return on their efforts.
Okay, so but anyone can come to you, like small business owner. You don't cater to anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't if it doesn't. You can work with a small business or a big corporation.
Yeah, usually, I mean, individuals are individuals. So it always boils down to humans and learning how to communicate effectively for the circumstances that they find themselves in. And typically there's different forms of communication that happen in a larger workplace, say like Google, than, as you just mentioned, a small business owner, a merchant who just has handful of stores, or someone who's online trying to promote themselves, etc. So they require different skill sets and different strategies. But at the end of the day, helping them to identify what outcome they want to bring to fruition, and then empowering them, giving them the tools so that they can get there. Usually, it's a progression, but when you do that, it's incredibly powerful when you see the results and you see that they start to have some more confidence and self belief, and that they can really step into more opportunities because now they have all the tools to succeed. So.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Even me myself, because I am a small business now with everything that I'm doing with building my brand and building my podcast and everything. So I me personally, I go and I'm lucky, I'm blessed that I'm able to speak to someone like you and hear what exactly you do, and I get to speak to other people as well. And for me, I'm always learning. I'm always growing and developing, and that's what's been amazing about this journey is the growth within the year from when I started podcasting to now,
Hmm.
the change and everything, and it has to do a lot with a lot with my guests. A lot of the guests that I've had on my show, a lot of them have had a lot of influence on what I like. They've helped me improve along. Like I've improved with every guest, and it's just being able to sit here and like pick your brain and speak to you, and then you just get to you might learn a little nugget here and there, and then just start applying it and start doing all that. And it has nothing to do with what we're talking about now, but it's just it's just great because you're, I guess basically you show people how to market themselves now and how to build up their business now.
Yeah, I would say that I guess I would, if I had to put it into words, I would say that give people kind of a different perspective of how to approach situations, and I equip them with the tools, like I said, the whatever they need to be successful. And I'm also there to reassure them and encourage them along the way. Oftentimes, if I get called into, if I get my services get secured for a team, it's usually conflict resolution or team cohesiveness to help realign everyone's productivity with the shared goal, and to help kind of alleviate and be proactive with smoothing out issues before they grow and develop into larger problems, kind of like, heading it off at the pass. But on another note, you, my friend Wise, you have the right attitude. See, some folks don't have that, and you have the attitude of, I'm just going to get better, right? Like, it doesn't matter how much I get better, could get better incrementally or by leaps. But as long as I'm getting better every day and I'm improving and I'm learning every day, then that's going to compound. And who knows, when the next opportunity comes, you'll be able to seize it. Whereas someone else in a parallel universe, the Wise that doesn't do that, they won't have the ability to capitalize on those opportunities, right? So you have the right attitude. That's the main component, is willingness to learn and to improve and kind of put yourself in better situations.
And that's where a lot of us fail to realize that, is that people think that once you finish college you stop learning. No, I'm learning new things every day, and one of the key things is how to improve my communication skills, which is
Mhm.
something you do, which is something, yeah, I'm improving on that every day. I'm compared to when I first started, like it's night and day. I've even the way some of the episodes go, or even some of the way the interviews go, it's like completely different. And when I first started, my nephew was like, "Oh, we shouldn't release anything until we're polished,"
Mm.
and I didn't want that. I wanted the people to see the growth. I wanted them to
Mm.
hear the growth, especially now. Especially when I first started, it was just audio. This past few months, I've transitioned to video now, and so it has its little bumps as well, but it's growth. It's me wanting to expand and grow and develop as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it, like, the learning doesn't stop at college. And I try to reiterate this to many people: just because maybe you were graded poorly on something in your educational career doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have the skills in that area. It could be so many things, right? Like, we think about it all the time, especially because I came from academia in that world. Some of the skills that are probably we would say the most crucial now are not taught explicitly in school. Like, account people to handle their own finances, investments. That's not taught to students in high school. Like, they don't know, right? And how to articulate, how to convey yourself to achieve an outcome in a meeting, or in the workplace, how to ask your boss for a raise or time off. People, they generally don't teach these things. It's just assumed that the folks who are coming in, they will know it, they'll learn it, they'll pick it up somewhere, and they'll be able to apply it. And it's unfortunate, but what we need to do in order to be successful is we need to kind of take it into our own hands and say, I'm going to level up myself. I'm going to put myself in the best spot to succeed, and I'm going to, do what I can day by day to level up and to take advantage.
Oh, it's amazing because I'm I'm 45, and I have some friends that are much younger than me. And when I was their age, like there's so much advance right now as far as investments and savings. That's not, like you said, it's not something we're taught. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't too much later on in life that I learned that this is how you generate wealth is by
Yes.
investment. Yes, it took. It's not something that's taught in my neighborhood, in
Mm-hmm.
my community. It's not taught. This is something that's, so to see the younger generation know this and start applying it and generating wealth from it. It's amazing that I'm proud of some of my friends. I'm like, wow, I wish when I was your age, I would have known to do something like this. And I guess it's something. I guess as with so much access, with access to so much knowledge as far as investments and all this other stuff, which weren't around when I was growing up. It was not really available. It's just like I said. I'm like, I'm just learning this now within the past few years of building up a 401k and like I said, I have friends that are in their 20s who just made 20, 25, $30,000 on Dogecoin earlier in the year.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that this younger generation is becoming a little bit more knowledgeable as far as investments and stuff.
Yeah, and you're right. The tools that are out there now for them, it's really great, to be honest with you, because it shines a light on an area that was, I don't want to say neglected, but it was overlooked. Like I said, it was taken for granted. And now, because there's so many resources out there, people can think critically. They can use their own mind and they can choose, what do I want to, put my money into, for example, if we're using this scenario, and how, what will I return? And you hear kids nowadays, they're like, oh, I 1.8x or I 2.3x. Well, this one will give me a better rate of return, and this will, and it's like, that's really good to hear that they're thinking about that in terms of preparing for their future, so that, when they're 40, 50, 60 years, they'll have their house, cars, everything paid off. Their biggest problem will be choosing where to go for vacation, right? Like that's where you want to be, right? So it's good to hear that now. But one thing that I always advocate is invest. One of the best investments you can make is invest in yourself. And it's challenging to do that because it's not just like throwing money at it. You have to invest the time and the cognitive energy, the effort to learn, to develop your vocabulary, to develop an understanding of human behavior, and to apply it appropriately. But if you can do that, the return on that, like I tell my clients all the time, and the folks I'm coaching, I say, who do you think your company will choose to represent them when they need someone to speak at a conference, or to lead a new team, or they have a new project and they want someone to head it up? Like, they're going to choose the people who can articulate and who can convey and who can speak on behalf. They can be trusted to communicate well. And that's an investment that you might not see tangible results from right away, but those are results you can't quantify, frankly. Like, you can't really put that down on a spreadsheet.
No, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's me. Honestly, I've invested within the last year and a half, 2 years. I've invested heavily into myself, not just as far as equipment. I've invested in some good equipment and stuff like that, but in courses, things to help me, like uh just courses to help me self improve, help me build up my confidence. Because at first, I didn't think, Like before I started podcasting, I had made excuses. It was like one of the excuses in my head was, I sound horrible. Who would want to listen to me? Why would anybody want to tune into me? And I was just it was just me being afraid to step out of my comfort zone
Hmm.
and do something that I wanted to truly do. And come to find out, I'm pretty good at it. I have a good time doing. I enjoy doing it. I I'm learning every time I'm out here talking to someone. And I started recording what, the end of April 2020. And within that time, I've probably recorded for 150, 160 episodes.
That's incredible.
Yeah. But it's just me loving to do it. It's not work to me. It's me. And I've picked up a lot. I've learned how to edit audio, video. I've learned so many different things that I didn't know. I didn't know. I added value to myself without me really knowing. Like when I really started realizing that, when people was like, "Hey, you edit that podcast? Hey, how much do you charge?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I didn't really think of it that way, but yeah, I can do it for this much." And you start getting paid for things you love to do.
Hmm. Well, see, you're again, that's the right attitude, right? You're focused on the passion, right? You have a different mindset. Your mindset is not, I'm going to gain notoriety, or I'm going to make money, or I'm going to, do something that I think will pay dividends down the road. I mean, that's definitely, those are positive mindsets to have, but sometimes they're not sustainable, right? Because things happen, life happens, and we get derailed. But if you're investing your time in something you enjoy doing, you look forward to it, then now we're talking, right? Because now you've hit like they call it like the golden circle, the three things: something you like to do, something you're passionate about, something they'll pay you for, and something that's sustainable that you could continue to do endlessly, right? So that's something that's really impressive that you found, and now the results you're seeing are not something that you were driving towards. They're a byproduct of you following your passion.
I've I've made money. Like people saying, people going to get into this and they talk about, oh, I need to monetize my podcast. Like that's not an easy thing to do. It's not. It really is not an easy thing to do. You're not gonna be Joe Rogan overnight. It took Joe Rogan 10 years to be Joe Rogan.
Yep.
You're not just gonna come out of nowhere and do his numbers. But there's other different ways you can help yourself. Like me, I just started learning different skills and just started applying them and using them. Like Canva is my one of my biggest like that's one of the best investments I've ever made, was investing in Canva. I've so honestly, I've sold logos using Canva. One logo I did probably took me like 30 minutes of work. Made made a sale of sold it for $250. And the client was happy with it. It was happy with it. And I'm like, that was 30 minutes of work. I don't get I don't even get that. I don't like get paid that at my regular job. Like so it's just like yeah, I need to really start improving and getting better at what I'm doing, because if they're paying me $250 for this and I'm just starting out, imagine if I just keep improving and getting better, how much more is it worth? So
Yeah,
it's great, man.
that's definitely another. We've touched on. We're going into. We're taking a left turn here. We're going into different territory, but that's definitely something. Like you said, that's a philosophy that's very strong, that a lot of successful people do, and that is they find their passion, they develop that passion, and then they map that after they've developed their skills through their passion, and then they map their skills to how it can make money. They figure out how to monetize once they've developed something already, which is another path to go to. But paramount above all. Oh, sorry, Wes.
Okay, no, okay, no, sorry, go. Go.
Okay, I was gonna say paramount above everything else. You people should understand. They should pick. They should start with understanding what they want to do. What does a win look like? How do they want to spend their time? Right? How do you want to? What's the end goal here? And it's not easy. It'll probably take some time to think it through. What my ideal life would be like. How would I like to spend my 24 hours a day? Because that's the goal, right? We each have 24 hours a day. Spend as many as we can doing what we love,
Yeah,
and the other rest we do what we have to. Like, I mean, that's the dream. So how do you do? What does that look like? And I can't tell you over the years how many people have come up to me with questions like, Ryan, like you have this this great consulting and coaching business. Why don't you build it into an empire? Why don't you hire people, train them to be the coaches, and then they can go out and coach, and then you can profit off of them, and then you can make another layer. And I said, I don't want to. I have no interest in that. Like, I have no interest in building a coaching and consulting empire. I like to be the one doing it. Like, I like to be on the ground floor interacting with the people. So what a win looks different to everyone. What their perception of it is not necessarily yours, but just find yours.
yeah, no, like I feel you on that because some people get like as far as coaching, you have to really love what you do to, and sometimes it doesn't really matter the money you make. It's the job. It's being able to help people. Like to me, I find it more enjoyable when I help someone and they're like, well, okay, so with the podcast, I had a friend of me and a friend of mine from high school. We did an episode, and to have another friend of ours reach out to me and tell me that listening to that episode inspired them to step out of the zone that they're in because they had been wanting to start their own business
Yeah.
and they had been making excuses to why not, and to hear two people that they grew up with talking about manifestation and goal setting and building up communication skills and all the courses that we're taking, to be able to hear people she knew growing up personally and go out and like, listen, these are two guys that I know, I grew up with, that I know who they are. If they can do it, I can do it. Which she
Mm.
did. She went and she started her business. She sent me a message, told me everything. And to me that was priceless.
Yeah.
That was just like the ultimate, like, wow. Like I found what I want to do, which
Hmm.
is be able to help people, inspire people, just be able to help someone. This is just one person. Like I'm good. I'm happy with that.
Absolutely gratifying, right?
Yeah, it's just an awesome feeling. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm with you, and yeah, not it sounds kind of weird. I don't tell many people this, and now I'm telling the world this, but I often try to save about 40, 50 hours a year to do for pro bono, just volunteer coaching and consulting, and I typically save those for some organizations. Like I worked with Launch Code and a couple other organizations where they're like human people incubators,
Yeah.
human incubators, not like sci-fi, but they try to help people level up and reskill. And I try to volunteer to help coach as many of them as I can, because like you said, like helping an 18, 19, 20-year old introvert who is now going for their first career interview, and they're so nervous, their mouth's dry, their hands are shaking, and to have them step into that interview and feel confident and to convey themselves and present themselves the way that they want, and to be received the way that they intended to be received, and they come back and they tell you how great it was. Like, to me, that's better than money. Like, you can't buy that. Like you said, it's
Yeah,
priceless.
it is. It is. It's just an amazing feeling to be. So, so what made you get into coaching? Like, is this when did you know at a certain age that this is what you wanted to do? That you wanted to be a coach? That you wanted to be out there helping people?
Yeah, what's funny? I never even called myself a coach until about 2 years ago. But no, so to answer your question, no, I was always involved with, I was in academia, I was in education, and then I became a professor. And actually, what happened was I was on vacation in California. I have a few friends in the Bay Area, and they had a couple startup companies, and I just was visiting them on vacation, and they were talking about a pitch they had coming up, and I just offered some suggestions based off the research that I had done in human psychology and communication and how you can influence an outcome. And they loved it. They applied it, and it didn't work immediately, but it ended up working. And that was probably like going back almost a decade now. And I just kind of started getting referrals. He said, "Right, I got this friend Johnny. You got to help Johnny out. Sarah, can you help Sarah? She's got this next week." And then next thing you know, I was consulting and coaching, just off referrals. I didn't, it wasn't until I kind of started looking around a couple of years ago and I realized, wow, everyone calls themselves a coach. I never really thought it. I always just called myself like a consultant or an advisor, but I do like what I do is a lot of coaching, so I guess it fits.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it really does. It's amazing. It's funny because when I first started my podcast, it was just me ranting about work and the news and politics and all and I enjoyed being behind the mic, but I didn't enjoy the topics. I didn't enjoy what I was actually I wasn't enjoying the message I was putting out there. It wasn't until I started interviewing people and having authors on, coaches. It wasn't until I started bringing the people, those people, type of people onto the show, that I really started really love, loving the podcast and what I'm doing. And I got nominated by some fellow podcasters for best self help podcast. And I didn't really consider myself. I didn't consider myself. I didn't go into it thinking about I was going to be a self help podcast.
Hmm.
And when I won, I was even more surprised. But but then I sat down and thought about it and looked at my podcast and yeah, I'm a self help podcast. But you don't go you don't go out. It's like it's not like that's not what I want. That wasn't my intention.
Yeah.
But it's just it is what it is, and I love it.
It's yeah, we share that in common. It's the same. I had the same experience. I did not set out to, adopt a new career on vacation. That's not in the plans, but it just kind of, it just happened, and I'm really glad it did, as I'm sure you're glad that it turned out this way for you as well, right? Because I never realized at the time that my knowledge or that my experiences could benefit others, in the corporate world. I mean, like in education I was used to it, but I never thought, I just assumed that folks knew how to pitch, and that they knew how to convey themselves, or that they knew what approach to take to bring about their desired outcome. And if it didn't work, then either they rushed it, or their audience was not receptive. But no, as it turns out, many folks in the corporate world, they haven't polished up their communication skills. They excel at engineering or finance or whatever area that they're in. They're, tremendous at those hard skills. But when it comes to the soft skills of putting those into practice, or applying those, combining those with, different types of skills, sometimes they get lost in translation.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I've been actually been sliding away from this. I haven't done it in a while, but I need to bring it back. It's a game that we play. It's called Would You Rather. So I got four questions. You pick whichever one you want. All right.
Yeah, all right. You hit me with it.
All right. Would you rather have your jaws wired shut for a month, drinking only out of a straw, or wear an eye patch for a year?
Eye patch for a year, just because I like to talk.
Yes. So yeah, you can't afford to have your mouth wired for a month. No.
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather face a fork in the road or be forced to pick between three doors?
Be forced to pick between three doors because I like being in control of my own fate.
Okay. It would be, but it's going down the fork in the road. It's you have a choice to go either way.
Ah, okay. So it's a choice between two or between three.
Yeah.
I'll take the three. Let's live dangerously.
All right. Let's see. All right. Be in shape and have a great body, but ugly face, or a gorgeous face, but be overweight.
Hmm. That's a tough one. I don't know. I'm gonna go with the gorgeous face but overweight. So I'm gonna go with.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work because you could always, I guess you could always eventually get into shape.
Yeah, I like your attitude. Wise, I'm with you. I'm with you. We'll solve that problem later.
All right. Last one. All right, we'll let that one go. We'll leave that one alone. Would you rather be able to record your thoughts or your dreams while you sleep?
Hmm.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm sure we dream. Probably the dreams. I'm curious to because I never remember them.
Yeah, that would be interesting to be able to record your dreams and see what exactly is going on in Ryan's mind's head while he's asleep.
Why do you ever have that? Why sometimes I'll wake up and I'm like, I knew I was dreaming about something, but I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, and you can't really remember exactly where it was. Yeah,
Yeah, but I remember it made me feel a certain way or something. Like I'll remember a feeling from it, but I won't remember what happened or why.
exactly what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sucks. So yeah, to be able to record that would be interesting. I could imagine some of the craziest dreams you record. But all right, Ryan. So now it's time of the show where you plug away. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can get anything about Ryan.
All right. Thank you very much. First thing I'm going to say is my new book just came out. It's called The Effective Presenter: The Winning Formula for Business Presentations. I wrote it out of overwhelming request. Folks were asking me time and time again, and I just didn't have enough time to solve everyone's to try to help as many people as I can. So I wrote this book. It's basically a playbook for how you can approach any speaking situation, whether it's a presentation, leading a meeting, speaking at a conference, even presenting yourself if you need to. The formula is proprietary in here and it will help you. I promise you, read the book. It will definitely give you an edge in any speaking situation that you face. Additionally, if you want to get in touch with me, please visit my website, professionalpresentationservices.com, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a free a mailing list, and I pump out a top tip of the week every other week, a professional speaking tip that's backed up by research and supported by evidence that you can easily plug and play and level up your game. So subscribe to that. And yeah, I'm if anyone needs help out there, any listeners who are looking, I'd like to get in touch with Ryan, or I'd like to hear they need help with a problem. Please feel free. I'd be delighted to chat. I'd be delighted to connect and see what I can do and see if we can get you there.
That is awesome. Man, I appreciate you being on the show. This is it's always fun. It never goes the way it's supposed to go, but that's what podcast. That's what I love about this, man. This has been great. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate what you're doing out there. It's always great to to speak to a fellow entrepreneur and be able to have you share what you're doing out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the platform and why you keep at it. Why you're gonna get there, man. You're gonna be the next Joe Rogan. I got a feeling about this one.
I don't really want that time. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Like
That's the
I'm
spirit.
just being able to to speak like um next weekend it's a great, it's gonna be awesome because we're having a second convention of independent podcasters, and last year I was I had a show. I had a 15-minute show that I was able to put on for the convention. This year we're actually sponsoring part of the convention, and now we also have probably 2 live shows going on. So I'm excited. It's great to be able to, like I said, be able to. And this is not something. I'm not a professional. I'm not in TV. I'm not in radio. This is not something I do professionally. I'm a table games dealer. I work at a casino. I just happen to have a voice, I guess. And so I'm just gonna go with where this takes me.
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you? If I were you, I'd be doing the same thing. As long as you enjoy it, man, keep at it. Good for you.
Definitely. Thank you. But now it's time for shout outs. Big shout out to my Real Wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady, Fina. Love you, baby. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless you. Be safe. And you know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.
Thanks for listening. Listen on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, and TuneIn. Find us on social media on Twitter at @wise_b_blunt, Instagram at @wise_b_blunt, and a Facebook fan page, www.facebook.com/wise76. Check back soon for new episodes. Until next time, peace out.